Hey guys, welcome back to Chaos Zero Nightmare. We are hours before the launch of the game, and I wanted to do a quick video for anyone who is new to the game on not the best endgame teams or anything like that. These are what I consider the best teams for a new player to learn the game and start feeling comfortable in the game without having big frustrations of poor team builds. Now, I myself even will stray from this strategy if I get specific characters that I want, because once again, I think this is more of a beginner-friendly outline for a team that I'm looking at here, as opposed to the quote-unquote best endgame teams. This is just the best learn-the-game type teams you can, depending on what DPS you want to use. Now, there's other resources out there that I recommend you guys check out. Check out Pridewin for their look on teams, and also check out all the other content creators. Now, there is a ton of content creators for this game. I asked you guys for creators to do podcasts with. I've reached out to a bunch of creators, all amazing people. So I definitely recommend watching other creators and just seeing what they do, because once again, this game, even if there is a meta, there's different people will come up with different plays, because there's so many ways to build all these characters, which is the exciting thing for me about this game. I've got 2 creators locked in for a podcast on Sunday night American time, Monday morning my time. So hopefully that one goes ahead and we can get that one out to you guys with 2 creators I haven't interacted with before in videos. So excited to get as many creators on. So leave anyone in the comments that you reckon I should get on. Once again, I've already reached out to a fair few. Let's continue on. Sorry, I got a bit sidetracked there, but the general recommendation I have for a new player to learn the game is to have a DPS, a shielder, and a support. Now, why a shielder instead of like the sustain type character and then a flex spot? The reason I say shielder is because in the roguelike, you have your stress bar on each character, and once it maxes out, they go into the insanity break, and you've got to dump a bunch of cards, and it's basically just, it can make you feel bricked as a new player. It's something that you want to avoid, and if you are shielded, you don't take stress damage. It's only when you actually take health damage that your stress goes up. So you can heal it. There is other ways to reduce stress along the way as well. But in general, having decent shielding is a nice way to avoid that annoying mechanic in the game, which you can play around otherwise, don't get me wrong. But just for newer players, when you're just learning, that's why I recommend a shielder. Now, the Khaleep is one that we are waiting to see changes. In the beta, she was a big damage and shielding. So I basically, before I make recommendations on her, I really have to see how she goes. Like, you could even run her with 2 supports because, she has damage herself. But once again, we're waiting to see the changes on global. I'll probably do an update video on her because I know a lot of people are waiting to see what she does. We have Magda, who's another 5-star. Now, she has crystallization, which means she gets like passive shields added as well. She also has counter attacks. We have Maribel, who just has strong shielding cards. She's an 4-star as well, so she's easy to get. She's strong shielding. She has some counter attacks as well. And then the last one we have is Amir. She would be my lowest recommendation as a shielder type character, but she does get this metallization effect where when she gains a shield, she will do damage to enemies. So it's not like attacking. They all basically have a source of like passive damage, if you will, that is not just related to attack cards. And I would be building them to try and have them focus on their shielding aspect when we do that. Like I said, if you have Magda, great. If you have Maribel, great. Both fantastic. If you don't have either of them, you can just go with Amir. That would be my recommendation. When we take a look at the supports, I want to quickly touch on the supports. The 2 main ones I would recommend for new players. Once again, like one of my favorites is Cassius. His ability to search any card in your deck at 1 dupe in the graveyard as well. As long as they're not in the exhausted pile, he can basically yoink you any card you need. Amazing skill in the game. He has draw power. He has cool little questing systems. But because of his questing system and stuff like that, I think he's one that, experiment with him if you want. If you're feeling quite comfortable in the game, definitely try him because I think he's fantastic. But just note, for a brand new player, I would be recommending mainly Mika and Nia. Now, Mika you get for free. And, if you have no other supports, you can just use Mika as your support everywhere. Like, you can get away with it. Nia is a buffing unit. She buffs morale, which gives you a stacking damage boost, which is really damn nice. She can also activate cards off the top of the deck. So she just goes, boom, top card, play it. Whatever it is, it activates. That is a great effect. Once again, very linear. You're buffing damage and you're activating cards. She has, everyone's going to have more in their kit than what I summarize here, but that is the great gist around her, and that's why she's very straightforward. Mika, she just generates you a ton of AP so you can dump more cards. Also a fantastic character. As I mentioned, Cassius, draw power, I love him. And then we also have Ray, who is kind of like, she's one that I don't recommend to brand new players just because she has a bunch of different effects that need to synergize with a character. One character that does synergize quite well with her is Mei Lin, but besides that, I'm not going to go just splashily recommending her. And the last one we have is Aulia. Aulia feels like a jack of all trades. I kind of suck with her. I need to play her before I give more insights into her, so that's why I won't be recommending her. I'm not saying she's bad. She's just like has some shielding, has some healing. She has these creations that she makes which strengthen over time, but I don't think she's a linear character. Even through me trying to theory craft her, I feel like my mind was getting bricked on her. So that's just that one. Look up other creators. Once again, fantastic creators in the space. Go check out videos on her and see what people have to say as well. If I pull her, I will definitely go further into her. But once again, the main two that I'm going to be looking at here is going to be Mika and Nia. Now, Mika, if your character has high cost cards, because you can generate AP to dump those cards. Nia is especially good when you look at characters that have low cost cards, but do a lot of them. A lot of the hunters with their bullets, they keep generating bullets, and that means they're going to keep doing little attacks, and they all get a +% onto that damage that they deal with that attack. So with a bunch of little attacks, if you're doing a bunch in a turn, then the morale buffing is absolutely fantastic for that. And that can be your general structure. So I'm going to put these two up here. Once again, I mentioned what I think about these guys. These guys are great. I will probably be using Cassius in my playthrough if I get him, because like I said, I love this guy. I think he's absolutely fantastic. But for a general structure, once again, I recommend using a support, then a shielder. If you have Maribel, sweet. Like most people, I just say use Maribel as your shielder if you have her. If you have Magda, go nuts. Once again, Khaleep is going to be a bit of a unique situation in the way she works. And if you have absolutely nothing, you can use Amir, who we get for free. So these are going to be the two. And I'm literally just going to drag each DPS and show you which one I would be using them with. And that is your core team structure. Your tank, one of these two supports, and then your DPS. And then you evolve your team from there as you get more comfortable. Read these other supports, read their skills, see what you can do. Note that some characters can be used as a sub DPS. I think Veronica is very much like a sub DPS in the way I would personally play her. But once again, the way you can build decks for these characters, you can use, even for instance, Renoa, I have a theory where I want to use her as a card draw support, just completely ignore her damage so that she's only dumping her cards to boost the damage of my Hugo. Like that is like one of the ways I think about playing. So there's so many different ways to play these characters. Just note you can stray from this, but once again, this is looking more at beginner players. Now, if you're a player that uses absolutely no pulls, then the free characters you get are going to be that, and that. Now your options are Owen and also what's her name, Tressa. So with Owen and Tressa, Owen actually has some shields, but not enough to make him like a proper shielder, but it's like good supplementary shields. So you could actually kind of get away with a team like this because he is quite expensive. He would want to be paired with Mika, but then she is very cheap, so she can still get plenty of attacks out. That is something you can definitely do as a full free-to-play team, or you can go with the classic shielder method, which is support, shielder, and then DPS with Tressa. You could also do, whoops, didn't mean to do that. You could also do something like this, but me personally, I'm a big Tressa fan. I love the dot playstyle, so that would be like my no pool account team if I was doing it. Either that or that. That's what I would be looking at if it was no pools. But let's face it, everyone's going to do pools. Everyone's going to have stuff to use. So let's go through your options. And I'm going to keep this pretty summarized just so I can give the TLDR. But once again, I want to make sure that you guys know this is not the best endgame teams. This is just what I think is nice teams for new players to go ahead and get comfortable with the game. So for the DPS, our newest character, Haru, she has very expensive cards. Now we have not seen her epiphanies, so maybe she gets more efficient, but just because she has expensive cards for new players, it's easier to get some AP generation for AP expensive characters. I still think she's going to be absolutely great because she's got one card that everything revolves around. I think Cassius is going to be great for getting that card so she can reuse it. That's her anchor shot. But, I think Mika is a great starter point for her. I mentioned Mei Lin. Mei Lin can really go with anyone. She's pretty self-sufficient in that she self-buffs. She's very AP efficient. She draws her own attack cards and make them free. Absolutely fantastic. Honestly, she's one that I really like. Once again, with Ray, I also like her with Cassius. So yeah, you can use her with whatever. For the sake of this, I'm just going to leave her in this one with Nia, but just note she can be used with just about anyone you want. Moving on past that, we jump into Rin. Now, Rin is one that is a very, very selfish character, and you want to be using her as the only one using attack cards, and she can really go into either one of these characters. I know a lot of people love Rin. I personally have not gone too deep into Rin, so I'm not the expert. I know there's going to be a ton of Rin mains out there, so I definitely once again recommend checking out other videos on her, but I really do think you can put her with either one of these. Her whole thing is that she wants to get in her blade stance, and then she wants to stay in there by not using any other characters' attack cards. Now, she doesn't have overly expensive cards, but one strategy you could use is, even though she's not overly expensive, you could use her with Mika to generate the extra AP, and then Mika can hold your AP into the next turn, meaning you can save up cards so that in that next turn, then you have a bunch more cards in hand. Then you can put her into her stance with a card and then dump all of her attacks, just in case, you're going through the roguelike and you haven't managed to dump all your supportive cards. Otherwise, you just get some buffing straight away off Nia is going to be really nice, and then you can go and dump them. So either one of those two, I think, is perfectly fine for her. I also think, once again, I would end up leaning into Cassius as well with her because, that searchability, that draw power is really nice on top of it, but she can go with pretty much either one is what I'm trying to say. And I think I'm going to put her up here because I think I recommend more characters with Nia overall. So I'm going to put it up there to even it out. Next one we have is Hugo. Now, this is the guy I am re-rolling for. He does a bunch of low-cost cards that he's just going to keep dumping them out. He also has follow-up attacks whenever a targeted attack card is played. So he's going to be hitting a bunch of little times, which means he would like to go with Nia if you're only using one. Same goes with our Rinoa. Now, she is the other one that I want to get in my re-roll. She has these Dirge bullets. Once again, she's generating a bunch of these Dirge bullets and dumping them out. At the end of there's different ways you can play. You can reduce them to 0 and actually fire them, or you can let you turn in and then they just go ba-boom. And so she has all that. So once again, low cost, getting the buffing is going to be really nice. Same thing goes for Luke, generating a lot of bullets, cheap bullets. He's going to keep firing them, so the buffing is going to be nice, not too AP hungry. The next one we have is Kayron. Now, Kayron, you could really play with either, but he is very expensive on his cards, so that's why I would recommend going for a new player with Mika, because he does have those expensive cards. So making sure you have a bit of abundance of AP is going to be really nice for him. Then we have Veronica. Once again, Veronica is one of those ones with some really good draw power in a kit, and if I was building her, I'd probably build her for support, but you could also build her as damage. She generates all these ballistas, and then they're going to do different effects depending on the ballista. She, once again, pretty efficient. She has draw power, really damn nice, so I would be pairing her with Nia. Then we go over into Beryl. Beryl has more expensive cards, so I would be putting her with Mika. Beryl, honestly, I haven't gotten too deep into. I don't think anyone's going to want to main Beryl, so maybe for a second or third team. But maybe I'll do more on Beryl in the future if I feel like I absolutely need her. Then we go into Lucas. Lucas is a bit more expensive on his cards, more AoE damage focused. Once again, he's another one that I don't think many people are going to go deep into. I think the next two are the two SR DPS that most people would be looking at. We have Selena, I believe her name is. I always forget if it's Celine or Selena, but she is going to be honestly, she has really nice supportive capabilities as well. As some solid damage dealing capabilities. So I would put her in the buffing. She's not overly expensive. So once again, I would be taking Nia as my option, keeping in mind that anyone can go with Mika if you're in a pinch. Then I mentioned at the start with Tressa, she has all these low cost attacks that are going to put an agony dot on the enemy and then just burn them like hell at the end of a turn. Really cool. So she's going to take advantage of that, the buffing from Nia to go ahead and make her actual application attacks deal even more damage as well. So that's really damn nice. And then we have Owen. Owen, once again, he's a bit more expensive on his cards, a bunch of 2 and 3 cost cards. So he's gonna pair nicely over there with Mika. So that is it. Once again, pick your support, pick your DPS, slap a shielder in, and you should be pretty good to learn the basics of the game. Once again, I myself may not even use this structure at the start of the game, but this is just something that I think is a nice way for new players to learn the mechanics of the game, and then you can stray from this as you will. You will learn that, different characters that have different synergies. Like, once again, I'm re-rolling for Hugo because I just think his synergy capacity with other characters is so great. When you use another attack card, he can follow up and do a damage. He can also gain stacks to increase his follow-up damage when any other character uses a skill card. So he's going to be like playing around with those stacks stacks, dumping the stacks. Like it's just, there's so many fun ways and different ways to play them. But once again, for beginners, I think it's a comfortable way to learn the game, to pick your DPS, pick a support that has synergy with them, and then pick a shielder. Now, once again, if you don't have Nia, if you don't have Cassius, if you don't have Ray, you just slap them with Mika. She's a great support in general, and you should be able to get on your way and feel quite comfortable in the game. Anyway, that is the summary. As always, once again, go check out all the other creators. Like I said, I've been reaching out to guys. Everyone is a fantastic bloke that I've met so far. So really appreciate all the other creators in the space. Once again, if there is any other creators you want me to collab with, please leave them in the comments. As always, guys, thanks for watching. Hope you have an awesome day, and I look forward to seeing you in the next one. Cheers.